Today I'm going to be talking about Star Wars history and how it correlates with United States history. Of course, these are just kind of my own thoughts, and no ways are these thoughts true or whatnot. This is just things that I think about while I'm watching Star Wars, and many of the reasons why I also enjoy Star Wars as well. To get started, let's talk about some of the background of Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. So Naboo was part of a free trade zone, which eventually ended up being taxed by the Trade Federation, and how this leads to a pacifist planet like Naboo getting exploited by a group that has a larger military force to impose a treaty to allow them to tax these taxation trade routes, which would then result in the exploitation of Naboo. And when Queen Amidala goes to Coruscant to meet the Galactic Senate or Congress to talk about the military installation that the Trade Federation has imposed, she quickly figures out that it's going to take a whole committee, the whole thing's going to have to be investigated, and basically government bureaucracy is not going to be the action that is required or needed in this current moment. And it's even rumored that Chancellor Valorum is under the influence of the Trade Federation. George Lucas even said himself that he based the character Phineas Valorum off of President Bill Clinton, which can be correlated within Star Wars history and United States history, is that the vote of no confidence is the Bill Clinton impeachment, and this is leading up to a number of things, including terrible trade agreements, NAFTA, which was his biggest one, which oddly enough created the North American Free Trade Agreement, and in Star Wars it was the taxation of free trade zones, but it can be viewed as a poor trade agreement for the United States. And all those are kind of the big plot parts of Star Wars Episode 1 that you could potentially directly correlate to United States history, but Star Wars also shares a number of histories with the United States as well, including that, of course, Anakin was a slave on Tatooine and the Republic allowed slavery to exist, and it's also important to note that the United States is a constitutional republic, which, of course, is what is based off of the Republic in Star Wars and the Galactic Senate and whatnot. The Trade Federation also, in parts, I would say, shares parts of early 1800s to 1900s American foreign policy, where if you look at it in terms of the Trade Federation, they have the larger military so they can impose their will, which then allows them to tax free trade zones and exploit pacifist planets as well. I would say where this correlates in with United States history is that if you look at it in terms of the United States would oftentimes display their military and simply ask to open up their trade ports, and other countries would be like, oh, look at that larger military force, of course we have to allow trade. And of course, Star Wars also, Episode 1 leads directly into Episode 2, which starts the Clone Wars, and of course the Clone Wars is about fighting off the Confederacy of Independent Systems. I believe that George Lucas directly, used the Confederacy to have minor correlations with the United States Civil War as well. George Lucas has been very open about using parts of U.S. history to influence Star Wars. I think when you base any sci-fi or fantasy off of real-life events, peoples, and cultures, the overall fiction is better and also better realized. There are definitely parts of Star Wars that can be influenced and interpreted by U.S. history. Let me know what you guys think about this type of video. If you guys want to see more of it, I definitely plan on going through a decent amount of the Star Wars movies, and I would like to go through a lot of the Clone Wars and do stuff like this about my interpretations of Star Wars and United States history. But I enjoyed making this video, and until next video, goodbye.